Good morning, everybody. Give me a couple minutes and then we're going to get started. I hope everybody is doing well today. So, I don't know where you are in the world, but here in Arizona, we have had some crazy weather lately. It's cold, then it's hot, then it's hot. So, I've been trying to rest my voice and stuff because something's trying to get on me. But I wanted to get on today as if you follow me, I post a video every Saturday. Um, but I didn't post one today because last Saturday was the end of my season. I don't know if you really call them seasons on YouTube, but I call it my season. It was my season finale. I ended with our series talking about single moms and helping their children overcome parental abandonment and them overcoming having to parent by themselves, learning to co-parent, getting out of toxic relationships, different things like that. Um, Thank you for everybody who has been with me for these past couple months on this journey of overcoming parental abandonment and all the things that I have been talking about with that. I really appreciate you guys. Um, if you've been watching the videos, put in the comment which video has been your favorite, what series has been your favorite. We talked about self-care and how that can help you to overcome your parental abandonment issues. We had the voices of women overcoming parental abandonment. We had the voices of men. I got a lot of feedback from the voices of men. So let me know which one was your favorite. We also had some in there. I did a video with my oldest son, Stefan, about co-parenting, um, and it came from his aspect. He got to put his input on there about having parents who were divorced. I would like to do more videos with teens to get their aspect on being raised without one or both of their parents in the picture. But obviously, you have to have parents' consent for that. So we'll still work on that. Let me know if you can hear me good. Uh, I have my baby girl is in the background in the other room screaming because she wants me. And, and so she doesn't care that I do videos. So, so I'm going to try to talk loud enough so that I can talk over her screams that are intermittent. Um, let's see. Oh, I did a some videos about singleness and overcoming promiscuity. That was a really good one. There were two videos on that. If you haven't seen that, that was with Jasmine. And yeah, videos about fatherhood, motherhood. So if you missed any of the videos, go back and watch them. But today, give me a second. Do y'all hear that? Can y'all hear her? She she just wants her mommy all the time. At some point, she might end up being in here with me while I do this video. So, um, give me 1 second. I'm going to go try to get her to calm down. Okay, I'm back. If I go back and do an edit, I'll probably edit out that whole part. But anyways, okay, so I'm gonna get started today. So today we're gonna talk about, oh, back to what I was saying. Yeah, so I finished my season. I'm going to be coming back in January with some new videos, and I'm really excited about those ones, the topics that we're going to be discussing. Still going to be in line with the same things that we have been discussing, but I have a few different topics that I have in mind. So stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm going to be doing some live videos and just talk to you guys about some things that are on my heart. Um, that I'm not actually talking about necessarily with my guests at this time. I may later, but we'll see. um, Also, if you have not heard, I did I did create a new course, and it's going to officially launch on November 27th. That is the Friday after Thanksgiving. So if you register now, the link is in the description. If you register now, you will get a 50% discount on the course. And then you will be set to go on the 27th. I'm super excited about that. The course is called Girl Get Your Whole Life. We're going to be talking about getting yourself together, spirit, soul, body, get your emotions together, get your physical together, get your financial together. And by physical together, I do mean working out, but I also mean like learning to love you for who you are in this moment and not just getting caught up in trying to meet some standard or a stereotype of what society says you should be. We're going to talk about getting out of toxic relationships. We're going to talk about parenting. We're talking about a lot of stuff. So, packed into this course, it's a 5-week course that's going to deal with a lot of different things that we go through as women and how to have peace of mind and peace in our heart to get over those things and be able to be the best version of ourselves. Because in 2020, this is a year that if you weren't working on yourself, you should have been working on yourself, but you still have time to work on yourself. So I'm gonna help you get your whole life together so you can work on you. And then also, so yeah, go register for that. Link in the comments. Share with people who you know that could utilize this course. And there is a VIP portion as well, so you can register for general admission or VIP admission. VIP admission comes with other special perks like one-on-one coaching sessions and some other little bonuses that I threw in there. So when you click on the link, it tells you all the things that you get for general admission or VIP admission. But whichever one you do, it's going to be amazing. So do that. Try to make sure I get all of my administrative things out to you guys before I forget, because I'll start talking and I'll forget the things that I wanted to share with you guys. But anyways, so I want to talk about learning to love yourself today. And this is a huge thing for me because for a really long time, um, I struggled with depression. I struggled with the fear of rejection. Um, I had abandonment issues from obviously parental abandonment. This is why I talk about it. And because of the things that I went through, I didn't know how to love me. And I don't mean in a conceited way where we feel like, oh, well, I'm just like all that and, whatever. I wasn't like conceited or, had a high ego or anything like that. I don't mean being like that. I mean just generally caring about you enough to not stay in relationships that are negatively affecting you or knowing your value or your worth. And so in a certain sense, I did do the whole, oh, I'm all this and I'm a bad bee and I went through all that stuff because your girl had it all together. I like my hair was done, my nails was done. I kept everything all together on the outside, where on the inside I was like falling apart. Like, and I talk about this in my book, Growing Pains. I talk about it a little bit, but I talk about this of how we fix this outer exterior, but we never actually deal with what's on the inside. Because the truth of the matter is, if we um, if we really evaluate what is going on inside of our hearts, it doesn't feel good. It's not something we want to let people know that we're going through. It's not something that we want to share. And many times I've said, my biggest thing was, if I pull back the layers of all the stuff that I built up to cover the vulnerabilities that I had, then who would I be? What kind of person would I be? I don't know that person. I only know this person that I've created to protect me from the pain that I went through. And so I had to get to a place of vulnerability where I said, no matter what it costs me, no matter the pain I may feel, I have to strip away all of these, yeah, what is a word that I'm trying to figure out? All of these facades that I've created of myself. And I had to take all of that away and really get to the core of who I was and heal that little girl that was inside of me. I had to heal that little girl that was, angry because my dad wasn't there. And I saw my siblings, or seemingly what I saw through my perception was that my siblings had their dads around, but I didn't have my dad. But they all have their own stories too, of how it wasn't as good as I thought it was, because the grass is not always greener on the other side. It just looks like it. And so, but on my side, I felt like, well, they had somebody in their life. I didn't. I had to strip away and deal with the pain that I felt, that I was never good enough for my mom, and heal from that, and really learn that, as parents, your parents can only parent you in what they have experienced and what they've learned, and to the extent that they've actually healed themselves. So if they've never healed and dealt with their own issues, then what you're going to get from them is the toxic, the pain and the toxicity that they have inside of them. They're going to parent you out of that, and it's just going to pour down onto you, and that's where those generational curses come from. And so, when I started healing her, then I began to really understand what learning to love myself was. When I got past the being molested over and over again by multiple people, and it took me a long time to actually really talk about that. And throughout this live series that I'm going to be doing, I'll probably get deeper into details about things. But when I also did a series about those dirty little secrets and molestation, this past season too. So if you want to check those out, you can check that out as well. Then I don't have to re-talk about that stuff. Okay, that's good. Yeah. So but I had to learn to heal from what happened to me, and I had to learn that it wasn't my fault. I was a child. I didn't do anything to deserve those things. I had to get over that fear of allowing those people to control my mind mentally and to control me emotionally, because I wasn't there, still in that place where it happened. It had been years, but I was still tense up around people because I felt like they might do it too. Like I was always on edge, like this could happen at any time from any person. I never knew. I had like serious trust issues, y'all. So, I had to, like I said, pull back the layers and heal from those things. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be teaching in the course, how to really heal from those areas, so that you're not always on the defensive, so that you know what your triggers are, and that you, if you acknowledge them, then you're going to have an easier time working through them, and then being able to overcome them. So, and I'm not a therapist by any means. I'm just giving you what I learned and what worked for me so that I could become the person that I am today. So, um, learning to love yourself. So, one of the things that I had to do, I've been holding this in my hand and it hurts. So, I'm going to drink this coffee and then I'm going to say what I was going to say. One of the things that I had to learn to do was realize that because I went through these things in my childhood or in my teen years, and I never learned to overcome those things, I carried those as an adult. And it dictated the type of relationships that I ended up in as an adult. Um, and I know a lot of times we think, oh, well, I pick who I want to be with, and, um, I'm not going to let somebody do me like this or do me like that. But really, you're going to draw what's on the inside of you. So the type of person you end up with is a reflection of what's on the inside of you. So, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute, but I wanted to say, um, one of the big things that I had to learn to do was to forgive myself, because you can't love yourself if you can't forgive yourself. I remember when I was 15, 15 or 16. Actually, it was 15. So when I was 15, I was in church and I was filled with the Holy Spirit, and it was amazing. And like I just like fell in love with spending time with God, and I enjoyed that so much. So when I was 16, I met this guy who would later become my husband, and the father of my first child. And the Holy Spirit told me he is not the person for you. You need to leave him alone. And then my pastor at the time told me that too. And I was like, nope, not doing it. So I literally told Jesus, listen, I love you, Jesus, but I can physically see him and he is fine and he is everything that I wanted. And I'm 16. And obviously I had went through trauma in my past. So I had voids that I needed filled. And he was seemingly filling those voids for me. So because of that, um, I ventured into this relationship, um, which spiraled for 6 years. We were together for 6 years, off and on, and it was abusive, um, in all aspects. Primarily, there was physical abuse, but because I grew up watching my mom be in an abusive relationship, in my mind, it wasn't really abuse, it was normal. So I settled to be in that relationship because, one, I didn't love myself, so I didn't have any standards or values for myself. And then I didn't know any better because that's what I saw growing up. Um, so it wasn't until he hit me in front of my son, our son, um, that it like clicked for me. I didn't want my son growing up seeing that. I didn't want him to think that that was ever okay. So I left that relationship. And then after that, I had like guilt and shame and anger at myself because I felt like I had felt myself I wasn't good enough. Why would I ever, put myself in that situation? And lots of other stuff happened. It wasn't just him. Like, I was crazy back then. I did all kinds of stuff, but but I had veered away from Jesus, and which is why I continued to go down that negative path of drugs and alcohol and stuff. And that's like a whole other story in itself, but it all falls under learning to love yourself. I didn't love myself. And so coming out of that, I dealt with a lot of guilt and shame because now I had this baby and I didn't know how to love this baby because I didn't really know what love was and I didn't know how to love me. And so I was really angry. And I was angry because when I was 15, I had this amazing relationship with God. And then I just gave it all away to chase after a physical person. after this after this man that I thought was going to fill these voids. And it reminds me of Eve. So we all get mad at Eve because she ate the fruit and then she messed up everything, right? But the truth is, um, we do that same thing. We have many times, and if this is you, go ahead and put in the comments, I did this too, or this is me. But we will settle for bypassing God's goodness to be in negative relationships with people or chase after jobs or whatever you put, fill in that blank right there, whatever it is that you use to replace being with God because you feel like this might be a little better, it's going to fill the thing that I need. um, that's what I did with that relationship. Like I said, I was 16, I didn't know any better, but I stayed with him for 6 years. so so no, it's 5 years. Yeah, because I left, I was 21 when I left. Yeah, it was a long time ago. But anyways, 5, 6 years, whatever. The point is I stayed way too long. And I didn't leave my child until my child was 1 years old, and I didn't want him growing up seeing that. So I had to deal with the fact that I didn't love me. But this is the kicker. It started going back to church. And I was like, God, I'm going to get myself together. So started going to church, and then fell into like the same thing over again with another guy, but he was in church. So it was different, right? Because he was in church and the other one was not in church. So it, obviously God approved of this one. I'm joking. That's not what happens, because just because people go to church does not mean that God approves of that relationship. Um, so I so I got into this relationship with this person thinking I was helping them. Um, and really they were just feeding off of the trauma that I had already gone through. We were just feeding off of each other's trauma. It's called trauma bonding. And because I was what I have learned now, codependent, I felt like I needed to fix people because the way that I grew up, I was always trying to fix everything. So in relationships, I can fix it, I can fix it, I can fix it. But that was not the case. I couldn't fix other people who necessarily didn't want to be fixed. So I had to, well, in that relationship, I ended that relationship, but then I found out I was pregnant after I ended it. And that put on another level of guilt, y'all, because now I was in church. Like before, I wasn't in church anymore. So, the sin kind of feels like it's less sin because you're not in church. This time I was in church. And then, I had people who were, filling my head with even more guilt and shame, saying, oh, you can't have this baby because you're supposed to be a Christian. Well, I thought I was supposed to be a Christian before too. I mean, I was in church, but like, I guess because we weren't like in church, or because we got married, I don't know. So I felt shame for having another child from a toxic, jacked up relationship with a person that I was not going to be with. Um, and I felt like God, I just keep messing this up. And I just want to go back to the relationship that I had with you when I was 15. And, I just loved you so much. And I just enjoyed being in your presence, but I can't ever go back to being that person because I'm so filthy. I'm so nasty. And, you can never love me. And I'm sharing with you guys my testimony, but I'm going to get to the part that's going to help you. So if this is helping you, I hope this is helping you. But this is my personal testimony of how I had to get to learning to love myself. Um, and so when I was pregnant with my second son, and I'm battling in my head, um, should I have an abortion because I can't have two kids and I'm not married, and how's that going to look? I even had somebody tell me, a man will accept you with one kid, but he's not going to accept you with two kids from two different dads. And so then I had this, like, I'll never be able to be in a relationship with anybody because nobody's going to want me because I have two kids from two different dads. So I went through all of this battling of should I abort my child or not. And I had a dream one night. The Lord said, um, he essentially showed me the story of Bathsheba and David. And he said, you can't cover one sin with another sin. That's not going to make it better. And so if you don't know that story, basically David slept with Bathsheba. She was a married woman. I mean, he was married too, but obviously he didn't care about that. But she was a married woman, and then she ended up pregnant. And so he tried to get her husband to sleep with her. He was a soldier and he was away when she got pregnant. So obviously it wasn't his baby. So he tried to bring her husband back and get him to sleep with her so that everybody would think it was his baby, but he wouldn't do that because he was loyal to the other soldiers, so he wouldn't go sleep with his wife. So the King David, had the man killed in battle and then took his wife as his wife. That baby ended up dying because that was a consequence of their sin. um I'm giving you the short version, but go read the Bible. It's very interesting. You learn a whole lot of stuff in there. So that's what God showed me. He said you can't use one sin to cover up another sin. And he told me not to have the abortion. And he said, if you have this baby, I will take care of you all. And that was the promise he made to me. And so even though the father was not involved in his life, God continued to show up and take care of every need we had. Like literally every time that that child needed something. I mean, all of us were taken care of too. It was me and my two boys. All of us were taken care of, but it was a special favor on him. Like if he needed clothes, there was one time it was getting cold out here, and I didn't have any winter clothes for him, and I didn't have any money to buy any clothes either because I went through a whole stage of no job, homeless, welfare, no car, all kinds of crazy stuff. It's in the book Growing Pains. You can go get that. The link is in the description box. But went through a whole stage of not being able to provide myself. And God just kept bringing people what exactly I needed. Like one time I needed a washer and dryer, and somebody came and just handed me the money, the exact amount to pay for the washer and dryer. One time, the boys needed bunk beds, and somebody came up to me and said, hey, God told me to give you these bunk beds. One time, so back when, like I said, when it was wintertime, you guys, I have squirrel syndrome. So sometimes I just scroll all over the place and get to different stories. Bear with me. We're going to get to where we're trying to go. But so it was getting cold, and I was like, God, I don't have any clothes for him. I can't afford to buy any clothes for him. And you said you were going to take care of this child. And I need you to do what you said. Like literally the next day, I got a call from someone at our church, and they say, hey, I have all these clothes, and I want to give it to your son because my son can't fit it anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. And she came over with 3 huge bags of clothes, like them big black trash bags, them huge ones, 3 of those. Then somebody else called me and they said, hey, I just found out that I'm having a girl and not a boy, and I have all these boy clothes that she's never going to wear, and I'm bringing them to you. And so that was another like 3 or 4 bags of clothes. And I kid you not, like this kept happening over and over and over again, to the point like I don't even think I ever bought him clothes until maybe he was 5 years old. And that was just by choice because I had money and I saw, stuff that I wanted to buy for him. But it was not because I had to, because he had an overflow of everything. Every time he needed anything, God would always provide everything that he needed. And like I said, the other 2 of us, we were provided for too. But there was a special anointing on him. And I feel like it's because I chose not to abort him, and I took God at his word that he would take care of him, that God had to show up strongly in his life for me. Even times he would be really sick and we'd be in the hospital and stuff, and God would heal him, and over and over again. So through that, God started teaching me what love was. And love is essentially learning how to give. You give because you love. But sometimes, and it's with no hidden motives behind it, no ill intentions, no, I'm doing this so that you can give back to me. It's none of that. And so when I watched how God just loved on my son and just poured out on him. And my son didn't have to do anything to earn it. And it wasn't because of me, it's because God just generally loved. Then I started saying, okay, God, teach me how to embrace your love. And he started to teach me that I had to learn that he created me in his image. And because he created me in his image, that it didn't matter the bad stuff that I did, that he had truly wiped all of that away, and that he loved me for who I was, for who he created me to be, because I was his daughter. And it started to change the way that I thought about a relationship between a father and a daughter, because I didn't really have the type of relationship that I wanted to have with my dad. But when God showed up to be my father and to be my lover and to be my provider and to be my protector, he was everything to me. It really began to make me change how I saw myself. And I remember I used to wear like very revealing clothes. And My mom used to make negative comments about that. And one time, uh, I didn't have on, because I had my belly button pierced and all kinds of stuff. And I didn't have on my little crop top and everything. Um, and my mom said, "Oh, I see God made you change your clothes." And I was like, "No, I just, something on the inside changed inside of me." And then I started to value myself more. I started to value that I didn't need to dress provocatively to feel good about myself. Because really, when I was doing that, it wasn't even about feeling good about myself. It was knowing that if I dress like this, then I'm going to get all the heads to turn, and I'm going to get attention, and I'm going to get people to notice me, and men are going to want to talk to me, and all these things. So I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Not saying that there's any right reason to dress like that, but anyways, I was doing it because I was longing for that love and that affection from other people, but I didn't know how to love me. And so when God started to change on the inside of me, and show me that I'm valuable, that I'm worth loving, and then he would start to affirm me and tell me how amazing I was, how I was fearfully and wonderfully made, how beautiful I was on the inside, then it started to change the way that I thought about myself and the way that I looked on the outside. I stopped becoming so focused on, if you ever go back and, well, you wouldn't unless like you're my friend on Facebook or something. But back when like I first started Facebook, you can see the transition in the pictures and stuff, because people are now doing that 10-year challenge thing, and you do the 10 years ago and then now type thing. But like 10 years ago, I was obsessed with, and before that, I was always taking pictures of myself, and I always had to take pictures of myself. Like I thought my face was going to change or something. I don't know. But I was officially noted as the selfie queen, because I was always taking pictures of myself. And as time progressed, and as I started to value myself, and that changed, I didn't have a need to take pictures of myself all the time. I'm not saying I don't take a selfie every now and then now, but um, literally, it's not as like I would take hundreds of pictures a day, y'all. It was really bad. but it was because I needed people to see me. I think maybe I felt like if people didn't see me, then they would forget about me. I don't know. It was really weird, but I'm glad that God worked me through that. But so to learning to love yourself, it's important that you be able to see yourself the way that God sees you. Um, and again, I'm not talking about being this conceited um, way that people see themselves. Um, it's truly seeing yourself through the eyes of God because He created you in His image and in His likeness. And when you talk down about yourself and you become negative about yourself, um, you're essentially saying that one, something is wrong with him because you're made in his image and likeness. So when you talk about yourself, you're talking about God. And two, you're talking about him as a creator, saying that he made you wrong, that he didn't do something right inside of you. And he doesn't make mistakes. Nothing he does is a mistake. If you have moles on your body, it wasn't a mistake. He put them there for a reason. I used to, you see this? You see this guy? I used to hate this guy. And it's funny because people used to always tell me, "Oh, your teeth are so nice." And I was like, "Stop lying. You're such a liar. I hate my teeth. Do you see this gap in my mouth? I just want a perfectly straight teeth and no spaces, no gaps and anything like that." Um, but as I grew up and got older, my grandmother has a gap. And I never noticed that until I got older. I was like, I inherited this from her essentially, because, I don't think anybody else has one in our family. Feel like it, skipped over my mom and came to me, and it's something that connects us. And but then I just started realizing that it's something that makes me uniquely beautiful. It's something that God put in me that would make me stand out from other people. And other things, like I have really thick eyebrows. They're kind of trimmed right now, so they're not as thick as they used to be. Because listen, it was like caterpillars, like it was not cute. So I didn't like it, and then people, my brother, I'll put him on blast. He's been in some of my videos. I love my brother though, it's okay. But he would always talk about my eyebrows and how thick they were, and then like my unibrow and stuff. And so I hated my eyebrows. But I actually get a lot of compliments from people now, like, "Oh my gosh, you have such thick eyebrows. That is so amazing. Do you know how many people are paying to get thick eyebrows?" And I'm like, "Really?" And it over time, I learned to love my thick eyebrows. Yes, I still get them cleaned up because I can't have them like just growing everywhere, y'all. Like, I can't have a unibrow. That's no. But I am very happy to have thick eyebrows. I'm very happy to have all this hair that I have, even though it's thick and it takes me forever to do. And now I have a baby girl who has thick hair like me. She's literally like the spitting image of me. And when I was a baby, if I look at my baby picture and her baby picture, it's like almost the same person. And so she has thick hair now. So I have to do her hair and I have to do my hair. And I'm like, whoo, all this thick, luxurious hair, but I'm appreciative of it now. So I say that to say a lot of times we look in the mirror and we can point out all the little things that we don't like about ourselves, things that we find wrong with us. But how is that benefiting you to point out everything that you don't like? Because are you changing it? What are you really doing to change it? I mean, I didn't really do anything to change any of the stuff that I had. I could have got like braces and got rid of my gap, or I guess, and you know, like I said, I can get all this waxed and then make them thinner. I don't even know what I could do to make my hair thinner. But anyways, if you're not willing to change the things that you don't like about you, why do you sit around and complain about them all the time? And so that's what I had to accept. And then and like I said, I had to accept that God created me this way for a reason. I'm uniquely created like this because this is the way that he wanted me to look. And if he thinks that I'm beautiful, why would I think anything less than that? So I had to say over and over again, I had to affirm myself over and over again. I had to stand in the mirror with no clothes on and say that I am beautiful. Despite all my stretch marks, that was another thing that messed me all up. When I had my first son and I was like lotioning and making sure I had all the stuff on there because I was like, I'm not getting stretch marks because I have this perfect stomach and I'm not gonna ruin my stomach. And the first time I got stretch marks, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. This is horrible because I was really vain and my image meant everything to me because of course that's how I drew in the men. So um so Jesus allowed me to have stretch marks on my stomach. So then I wasn't like flaunting everywhere. But or it could just be genetic. You know, they say that stretch marks can be genetic and my mom has stretch marks on her stomach. Um so that was a very difficult thing for me to stand in the mirror and look at myself and see all these flaws that I didn't like about myself and still say, I love you, Shani. You are beautiful. Shani is my nickname. Um, but you call me Song. Did I ever introduce you? Okay, hey, welcome to Inspiring Beauty and Believers. I forgot to say that at the beginning. But anyways, um, I had to learn to affirm me and say that I am good enough. It wasn't based on me being in a relationship with somebody. It wasn't based on whether the baby daddies were around or in their kids' lives. It wasn't based on how much money I had. It wasn't based on how I looked. It was because the God who created me said that I was beautiful just the way I was, and I had to believe that he was right. I had to believe that if he could love me, that I can love me. And it wasn't based on all the messed up stuff that I had ever done. It was based simply on his goodness because Jesus didn't die for me to continue to beat myself up for not being good enough. He took on all that mess. He took on all the negativity for me and he became disfigured and ugly on the cross so that I could allow the beauty of his glory to shine through me. And that's what I had to accept. I had to stop beating myself up for everything that I did wrong. And I had to forgive myself. We go back to that forgiveness. I had to forgive myself for not getting everything right, for not being in the right relationship, for allowing myself to get into relationships where I was verbally abused, physically abused, emotionally abused, because we are good at blaming ourselves for these things. I mean, we blame the other person too, but um, we don't we don't need to play that blame game. We just need to learn how to heal from that thing and say, I made a mistake. I messed up in this area, but I'm not going to allow this to continue to hold me to this standard of I'm not good enough because God created me. And when He created me, He said that I was good. And that's really all that we have to stick to, have to hold on to is God said you were good. He didn't say you were good if you do these things. He simply said you were good. And a lot of times we get stuck on, well, I'm not good enough because again, I don't have the best job. I'm not good enough because I don't wear the nicest clothes. I'm not good enough because I'm single. I'm not in a relationship. You fill in the blank or whatever it is that you feel that you're not good enough for. And that all goes back to the root of rejection. Somewhere in your life, somebody rejected you and made you feel like you weren't good enough. And then you've held on to that and you've allowed it to grow and tell you who you are. But that's not who you are. That's not who God created you to be. You are so much more than that because God loves you. There is one time in one of my abusive relationships, um, where he had been saying, so, and mind you, I was in church at this time. So I was married. Um, but he had been saying so many negative things about me and telling me how horrible of a person I was. At this time, I had learned to love myself the way that God loved me. So being beaten down with other people's words of things that I knew I wasn't, but because he was so manipulative and narcissistic, I began to believe those things so much to the point that I began to spiral into depression. And there were times where I wanted to die. I just wanted to drive into the other side of the road and kill myself. And because I thought maybe I am this horrible person that he says. So I was going to church, and it was after this huge argument. It wasn't really an argument because I kind of never really said anything back. But to me, it felt like it was a horrible argument. And I went straight into church, went to the altar, and just laid down on the altar and cried. And I was like, God, I just need you to tell me that, you tell me again that I'm good, God. Tell me that, I'm not this bad person. And he just reaffirmed over and over again that you are good because I died for you. And I didn't die for junk. I didn't die for somebody that is insignificant. So you are significant to me and I love you. And as he just reaffirmed in me that I was a good person and that I had meaning, I had worth, I had value, um, my spirit started to lift back up from that heaviness of all those negative words. Because a lot of times, the reason why we don't love ourselves is because we're listening to the wrong thing. We're listening to the wrong people tell us all these bad things about ourselves, and we're believing it. And we're looking at society, and society is telling us we need to be this certain way, and we believe it. But we don't go to the source, the person who created us, which is our Heavenly Father. We don't believe the stuff that He's saying about us. We believe what everybody else is saying. And that's the same thing that they did in the garden. They believed what the enemy said about them instead of believing what God said. And He's the person who knows us because He created us. He knows what we're worth. So I had to get back to this place. And sometimes we'll do this, we'll drift off and we'll forget that God is our source, so we have to stay linked to Him. So we'll drift off and feel like, oh, okay, I'm good enough now, and so I'm gonna go this way, and I'm gonna start doing this thing over here, and then we start filling ourselves with the world, and then we forget that we start lowering our own value because we forget that God created us, and so then we start to fall apart, and then we start going back and, okay, I need to get back to God because He is the one who created me. He knows me. He's going to affirm me and put me back together. But and I've done this many times, but what we have to do is stay in this place where we say, God, you are what I need, you are all that I need, and I'm not going to leave you no matter what. The word of God says that on this rock of who Christ is, this is the foundation that the church will be built on, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And so what we have to do is realize that He is our rock, He is our foundation. And if we decide to move off of that foundation, of course we're going to fall, we're going to collapse, our whole lives are going to crumble, because we're not staying founded on who He called us to be, because He is love. And that's what I wanted to get to today, is that God is love. And since He is the ultimate being of what love is, learning to love is learning to find your way to God and to stay inside of Him. And when you stay inside of Him, then you're going to become everything that He's called you to be. And you're going to be able to get rid of all that guilt, all that shame, all that, those toxic relationships, all the damage that has happened to you because you were looking for love in all the wrong places. There's a song that says that, looking for love in all the wrong places, when God was always right here, ready to be your rock and your foundation of what love is. And when we plant ourselves in Him, then he will allow us to flourish and grow into the amazing beings that he created us to be. But you can't get that outside of God. You have to stay in him. You have to stay in his presence. And that was what I started with when I was 15, being in his presence and experiencing that love that I had never experienced before. And then I drifted into all of those negative relationships only to find my way back to the heart of God and realize that he was always the one who loved me, and he was always the one who could teach me how to love me and how to grow and how to be the best version of me. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. As I mentioned before, if you have not heard about my course, the link is in the description box. It's Girl Get Your Whole Life. Go ahead and sign up for that. It starts on the 27th, which is the day after Thanksgiving. And right now you can get the 50% discount. We're going to talk about loving ourselves, self-care. We're going to talk about healing from those abandonment issues, getting over those toxic relationships, getting your money right, getting your mind right, getting your body right, and just preparing yourself to be a whole person, spirit, soul, and body. So I would love to share that with you. Also, if you want to check out any of my books, they're all available on Amazon. The link is in the description box. And if you want to follow me on any of my platforms, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. All those links are down in the description box too. But I thank you for joining me today, you guys. I'm so excited to do this new series with you guys. Um, I'm still going to be talking about it next Saturday. So come join me next Saturday at the same time. We're going to be 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time live here on YouTube. I love you guys.